This week on Illegal Aliens, Max and Michael have dirty minds, Alex is obsessed with Isabel and tries to convince women that that's a good thing, and Larry and Jen are staying at Roswell, aren't they? Make sure to wear your badge with the little green man facing forward because we're looking at the convention. Episode 13 of Season 1 of Roswell. I'm Chris.
And I'm Claire, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. The convention first aired on January 26th, 2000.
It was co-written by Jason Katims, who we last saw writing for Toy House, and Emily Whitesell, who didn't write on any other episodes but was a co-producer for Morning After, Monsters, and Leaving Normal. Emily's gone on to write and produce for American Dreams, Life Unexpected, and a show called Finding Carter.
The convention was directed by Tucker Gates, another director who only came to Roswell once. But the other shows on his resume include Silk Stockings, Nash Bridges, Alias, Lost, and House of Cards. Let's start the recap.
The sheriff's station is busy, with people still calling about last week's sighting. When Valenti gets to his office, a mysterious man, Hubble, is waiting inside. He drops some ominous threats and hints about a career of alien hunting.
At the UFO Center, an alien convention is underway. Michael talks to an expert looking for answers, but Isabel pulls him away in disgust. At the crashdown, Larry and Jen, the tourists from the pilot episode, are back. They order drinks, and then Larry asks Liz what really happened in September.
Max asks Michael how he endured breaking up with Maria, and Michael suggests another outlet for his energy. Max offers to take more responsibility for the convention for Milton, and Milton lets him handle keeping the celebrity guests happy.
After Max arranges a new motel suite for Star Trek's Will Riker, Milton introduces him to Hubble, and asks Max to persuade Hubble to participate in a roundtable discussion for the convention.
At the information booth, Max goes off into a romantic haze when he sees Liz and struggles to focus when she tells him that the tourists don't seem inclined to leave the crashdown until they get their answers. Max unhelpfully asks for mud pie for a catered alien luncheon, and Liz says she'll do her best.
Outside the UFO Center, Hubble tells Valenti he knows what's been happening in Roswell recently. Valenti blames Hubble for his father's mental problems, but Hubble expresses sympathy and says that he can help Jim find answers, if Jim's willing to trade favors.
Liz realizes that Jen, the tourist woman, has been crying and offers sympathy and makeup tips. Frustrated with all the frauds at the convention, Michael asks Max about Hubble, but Max refuses to encourage Michael with any details. After Michael leaves, Max talks to Hubble about the round table and what he's seen. Hubble tells Max that the UFO Center is a joke.
Max does some research in Milton's file and finds out that he's somehow connected to the old silo murder. Valenti visits his father, asking about the silo murder and if Hubble was there. His father says that Hubble was obsessed with his wife and child, which Jim thinks is nonsense, that Hubble never had family.
Liz and Jen, the tourist, bond over how obsessive their men can be. At a convention panel for Close Encounters, Larry the tourist tells his story of the shooting. Michael bumps into Larry and uses his itching trick to discredit Larry, and Max escorts Larry away as Larry shouts that Max is an alien, but Hubble is interested enough to ask Larry for the whole story.
Maria's mother pleads with one of the wrestlers she's recruited for the Alien Takedown to go through with the wrestling match, insisting it's perfectly safe, really, despite the broken ribs he incurred last time.
Hubble shows Valenti his own collection of handprint victim photos and says how he's been trying to track the killer. He says that Valenti Sr. isn't crazy and suggests that they work together to solve the mystery.
Alex visits Isabel and offers her a book of star constellations, and invites her to Star Watch together. No dates, no strings. Isabel complains that she needs space, and Alex leaves, devastated.
Maria and her mother join in with Liz and Jen's pity party over obsessive men, and Alex tries to get sympathy for his poorly received obsession of Isabel, but finds the girls unable to believe him.
Milton appears to summon Amy DeLuca back to the UFO Center, where the alien showdown is underway as Michael wore the mask and stood in for Ernie. Maria appreciates the gesture until Michael starts telling her that he's thinking about mud.
Valenti starts to investigate Hubble's first handprint photo and figures out that his father was right. Hubble's wife was the victim in that photo.
Max asks Hubble one last time to present at the convention, to cover for the Star Trek guest who bailed at the last minute. Hubble agrees on the condition that Max can drive him to fetch his photo slides. Max says he will, and Hubble says that they can talk on the way.
Valenti visits his father again to ask about the silo murder, suggesting that Hubble pushed him into shooting another man. Dad said that he didn't shoot anybody. Surprising Jim, he admits that he helped Hubble track down the man who Hubble shot and warned Jim not to trust Hubble.
Michael sees Max driving off with Hubble and confronts Larry, and Larry admits that he told Hubble. After spouting some vague poetry, Hubble begins to tell Max the story of what happened to his wife, baiting Max at every step and sure that Max knows what he's talking about already, if he remembers far enough back.
Larry comes to Jen with an epiphany. Hubble is what his life would look like if he keeps hunting aliens. He tells Jen he's ready for marriage, and they reconcile with a kiss.
At an abandoned cafe on the road, Hubble tells Max how his wife was killed at that cafe. He says it was the thought of the alien killer that kept him alive all those years. Max insists he doesn't know about any of this. This doesn't stop Hubble producing a gun and accusing Max of shapeshifting. He's convinced Max killed his wife and is determined not to let Max kill again.
Michael arrives, distracting Hubble enough that Max can tackle him and knock the gun away. As Hubble and Max wrestle and Hubble's about to grab the gun again, Max uses his powers to push it further away. Valenti arrives next. Hubble grabs the gun, and Valenti orders Hubble to drop it. Hubble says that he's seen Max's powers, but Valenti is undeterred. When Hubble is clearly about to shoot Max, Valenti shoots and kills him. He then apologizes to Max, saying that he had no idea Hubble was so dangerous. Max flares in a temper at Valenti, saying that Valenti sees him as a monster too and should drag him away.
Valenti orders Max and Michael away from the scene, proposing that neither Max nor Michael was ever there to start with. As they leave, Max whispers to Michael that he believes Hubble about one thing. Nasedo killed a lot of people.
Right. So a very emotionally powerful ending there.
Hugely so. With that in mind, where to start?
Yeah, well, I do want to talk about that a little because we've had kind of this notion of the alien killer right from the very start with the photo that Valenti shows Liz, and we've been getting little hints of it further on, definitely with Riverdog talking about how he knew both Atherton, the man killed, and Nasedo, who killed him. But this is very much a different level of connection with that. This man who is obsessed with the killer alien because the only thing that matters to him was taken away. And it really underscored for me, for one thing, kind of this notion of the handprint representing both death and life. Hubble only sees death in it. He's seen so many people killed with this handprint marking them. Whereas Max kind of has only used it for life, but he's still tarred with that same brush.
Oh, what an interesting idea. Do you know, that completely passed me by, these rewatches, trying to take notes. But it's an incredibly powerful thing because the menace of Nasedo through the episode just builds and builds as the mystery develops.
Yes, yes.
And, I mean, it's, as you say, vague to start with because the first time we get it, we're not sure really what we're seeing. We've only seen the handprint with regards to Max and his healing.
Yeah, yeah.
So to suddenly have that collection of photos, this is a thing that has been going on for years.
Yeah. Yeah, Hubble is this very almost tragic and pitiable character in that he was clearly not somebody who was ever, inclined to become an alien expert or alien hunter. He talked about how he took his extra pay from the mill for to buy fireworks as a treat for his wife, and that just tells me so much about who he used to be before all of this happened.
Yes, the fall of Hubble and his increasing preoccupation with Nasedo is, on the one hand, understandable, but on the other, I don't know, there's a sort of metamorphosis you see happening there. And
yeah, he's definitely an object lesson about the dangers of obsession.
Oh, absolutely. And, I mean, he's almost antithetical to Max, who we've said before has this hyper-exaggerated empathy.
Yes.
And it's not, we're not empathetic to him because his story is tragic and awful and poignant. But what he is trying to do to Max has no justice in it.
Right. Yes. Yes, he is so fixated on finding the alien killer that he can't see that he very much has the wrong person.
And I mean, the shape-shifting reveal is really the only way that makes sense, because otherwise you watch it and you think, now why is he stuck on this 17-year-old boy
Right.
for a murder that clearly happened years ago? And yet, when he comes up with that, we've not, I don't think, come across this idea of a shapeshifter before.
No, no, we haven't.
It expands the world in a way that makes sense, but adds a whole other level of menace because we may not know this person the next time we see him, the next time Nasedo comes up.
Yes. Yes, it even casts some doubt on the continuity of Riverdog's friendship with Nasedo, for instance. Might there actually have been two aliens who were wearing the same face,
Yes,
one of whom was the friend and one of whom killed Atherton?
it's not impossible.
Right. And to tie into this, there's kind of the comparisons between Valenti and his father, and Hubble just about taunting him at the end, saying, your father couldn't pull the trigger and stop me, and neither can you. And Valenti proves him wrong.
He does. He finally does the thing Max says he hasn't been doing. He stands up for them, I suppose. He offers the protection that's
Yes.
been so terribly wanting all the way through.
Yes. Yes. And I'm very interested in kind of exactly what is going through Valenti's mind as he does that for Max, because the parallels to the Silo murder are impossible to
Oh,
mistake.
yeah.
So is Valenti thinking, what if I've been wrong about Max the whole time? What if there's another explanation for this? What if he's just a kid, an ordinary human kid?
Well, he did say that way back in the pilot, didn't he?
Right.
I ran away, I was frightened. I mean, none of it was true, but that was the story he gave
Right.
Valenti.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I almost like the notion of Valenti protecting Max because he's thinking that he might be human, that he might be normal at this point. And then over the weeks and months to come, he may start to think, okay, what if he was an alien and I saved his life? Is that a bad thing?
Yes, because certainly by the time Hubble is raving about, I've seen his powers, I've seen him use them, he sounds like a
Right.
raving lunatic. Any credibility he ever had
Yes.
has
Yes.
just
And
dissolved.
there's a nice parallel there, I think, between that consequence of Max pushing the gun away and Larry ranting about Max itching like a monkey because of Michael's trick.
Yes,
They're both using their powers to discredit.
but I mean, in very different ways.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And yeah, Max much more
And
covertly, but it did strike
yeah.
me too, watching that. It seems to me a very high risk strategy for confronted with a crazed alien hunter to use your
Yeah.
alien powers under his nose.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty
But
sure that it was just kind of instinct that it was like, if I do not do this,
oh
he will
no,
grab the gun in a second and he will shoot me.
it had to be fight or flight because
Yes.
otherwise.
Yeah. And talking about this whole thing with Hubble and Valenti Sr. brings me to kind of one of the most chilling things, which was a moment of fridge logic, because it was, okay, exactly why was it Valenti Sr. who took the fall for shooting the drifter while Hubble went free? There's something which didn't fit originally because, yes, Valenti Sr. was an alien hunter, but he was kind of very competent and high functioning before that. And seeing a man who he'd suspected to be an alien die a very human death would probably, if anything, shock him into thinking, okay, maybe I was wrong, maybe there are no aliens, maybe the
Yeah.
rational side of things is the truth. And he seems to have reacted in the other way of slipping over into a very obvious alien obsession that makes him unable to function in society. But the thing I'm wondering about is considering Hubble's own obsession with his wife and his baby, if he actually went to Valenti Sr. and said, you take the fall for it, you pretend to be crazy, you'll end up in a nice, comfortable institution instead of prison. And if you don't go along with this, before they get me, I will shoot your wife, I will kill Jim Jr.
Oh, I haven't thought of that, but that does make sense.
Yeah.
This idea that if he can't have a wife and children, neither can anyone
Yes.
else. No, that does fit.
Yeah.
Because that is the thing that just undoes this man.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, it definitely isn't a strictly comparable situation since he lost his little girl before she was born, and at this point, Jim Jr. has to be, I would think, late teens or early 20s at the time of the Silo murder.
He's definitely old enough to remember.
Yeah. Yeah, but they said it was 72, and William Sadler was born in 1950, so he would have been 22 at that point, and he's probably playing a little bit younger than his actual age.
Yeah.
But I would think that Valenti is probably late 40s around this point.
Something like that.
So yeah, definitely very tragic and ugly story, which will haunt Max definitely for some time to come, this notion of the true alien killer and his anger at that, his anger at somebody who could take life with so little care or forethought.
Yes, it's a very particular kind of evil, this unknown and I don't know, unknowable menace at the moment.
Right, yes.
That is just so opposite, really, to everything we've seen from our aliens.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how that fits in,
Yeah,
how that
Hubble
develops.
actually brings up the notion of Nasedo as the deadly prey, that he will do absolutely anything and kill absolutely anybody in his way to escape when he's in trouble.
Yes, which is an interesting idea because we've had a couple of times from Michael and Max and Isabel this we must leave now.
Right.
But they have, being reasonable, normal people, never thought we should also slaughter our whole families in the process.
Right. Yes.
You know,
Yes, and they never actually have run very far.
no, they've always managed to come up with a plan.
Yes.
But there's also this sense that they have much more community than it sounds like Nasedo ever had, outside
Right.
of Riverdog and potentially, however briefly, the native reserve.
Yes. Yes, or at least any community that's ever had on this world.
Yes, we don't know what there was before, really, do we?
No. And continuing on with the thread about obsession and kind of what the girls are talking about the men in their lives and their obsessions.
Mm.
I thought it was interesting because with the conversation between Max and Michael at the very beginning, it seems clear that Max isn't obsessed as a primary thing. It seems to me that he is still scared of Liz and how he feels for her, and he is throwing himself and creating an obsession to avoid her instead of he's avoiding her because he's obsessed.
Yes, which is the opposite to what Alex does. Max
Yes.
is going to great lengths to not be around Liz in the name of, I don't know, trying to replicate normalcy or something. And when
Right.
that fails, everything sort of goes into what looks like soft focus.
Right. Yes.
And whereas Alex just keeps turning up round corners being terribly, terribly earnest. And Alex.
Right. Yeah, but both Max and Alex are, or Max and Isabel are pushing them away instead of talking about what they really feel.
Yes, in spite of, well, I don't know. For as much as they have community, I think they're afraid of really putting down roots.
Right.
With Max, I don't know. The alien connection almost is it's a useful diversion, I suppose, in as much as it might also yield them answers. And we see Michael trying to find those out earlier on.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Michael, more than anyone else, is legitimately obsessed with finding those answers, though he's also definitely afraid of Maria and avoiding her.
Yes, on both counts. But he's also mastered the art of the grand gesture and then deflecting any kind of acknowledgement.
Yeah, yeah, though it kind of, to a certain extent, isn't, I think, so much a grand gesture, because a grand gesture is dependent on being seen for one. Whereas Michael, I think, if he could have found some way of sneaking out from the alien takedown without ever being unmasked, he would have been happier for it.
Oh, absolutely. But on the other hand, even once he
But
has been unmasked, there's a sense of real, genuine camaraderie there between him and Maria. You know, when she
Yeah.
says, "Oh, why do I even bother?" She doesn't sound angry. She just sounds,
Right. Yes.
well, this is what we do, isn't it?
Yes.
This is familiar.
Yeah. And speaking of the Alien Takedown, I was wondering just a little bit about kind of how it fits into our sense of Amy as a businesswoman. Because it's definitely far away from the
Blow
alien
up
coffee stick
aliens.
stirs and the blow up doll. But it did kind of. I was wondering if kind of either she was friends with someone else who was running this promotional wrestling match at the first annual UFO convention, or was even like approached by a franchise thing that does, how to do a wrestling match at trade shows and conventions. And even though it's a big risk for her budget, the payoff, the profit, was something that she couldn't turn down.
I'm wondering if she's not working in concert with the UFO Center, since she does have this line in alien merchandise, and they need
Right.
to garner attraction. So it would make sense if they were almost a coalition for the purposes of this episode.
Yeah, it definitely seemed as if she was putting it on in the UFO Center, so there's a close business relationship there, one way or another.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's apparently a vast, sprawling, expansive thing, Maria's mother's alien industry.
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, presumably, the fact that she says that it would ruin her if the match doesn't go ahead makes it sound as if she's selling the tickets and taking on all of the expenses
Oh, she must be.
of the match by herself.
Yeah, because what is it? She says her last quarter's revenue or something is dependent on it.
Yeah. And possibly also paying a franchise fee if that's a thing.
Very possibly. Certainly paying to put these people up, if nothing else.
Right.
And the obligatory gift basket when they're beaten to a bloody pulp.
Yes. Yeah, as long as the show goes on.
Yes. Always.
Yep.
Now, I'm curious a bit about Hubble, because either he oozes menace from the start, or everybody just intuits that he's a fairly distrustworthy person. Because first when we meet him and Michael says, oh, who's he? I'm tired of frauds. Max says, no, you can't go talk to that man. And
Right.
later, when Michael sees Max go off with him, he goes into a panic and goes off himself after them.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that one I would definitely put down to Michael's intuition, especially since Max at this point seems to trust him. But Michael is definitely canny about that sort of thing. The earlier thing I was interpreting as Michael reading Max, because Max had been told by Milton, oh, this guy's the real deal.
Oh no, I'd got there. But Max doesn't want Michael to talk to him. Is he just afraid that Michael will say, by the way, we found some rather odd cave paintings, and could you please tell us about them and their history and what they might possibly mean so we can get back to our own planet?
Yeah, I think that Max, just for the same reason as he didn't want Michael going to the cave paintings in the first place, he doesn't want Michael actually going up to a legit alien hunter.
Okay, this is Michael at his lack of forward thinking, apparently.
Yes.
When he doesn't have crunchy bars or whatever it is on hand to sell.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And I found it very interesting how kind of our last beat with Jen and Larry the tourists suggests that they are going to be staying in Roswell for the foreseeable future. And it's like, there's so many different possible storylines that could have come from that, including finding out that they are actually raising a little baby in Roswell in the years to come, but we do never see them again.
We don't. It's a shame. I was just getting to like Jen.
Yes. Even Larry was growing on me.
He was. He was only really strange for the first 30 seconds or so.
Yes.
When he was hyper anxious, I know who Jen was.
Yeah.
But no, it's... Also, though, the idea that they're staying at Roswell suggests he hasn't quite put that alien obsession to bed.
No, it seemed clear to me that he was talking not about putting it behind him, but finding a healthy way to express it,
Yeah,
being the gatherer, not the hunter, which is another interesting take on obsession.
it is. The knowledge gatherer. He too can have his
Yes.
own index card catalogue
Right.
in the back of his house somewhere.
Yes. Oh, or he could actually start working at the center with Milton and Max.
That would be great.
Yes. Anyways, and yeah, I also started thinking about kind of almost various aspects of male bravery in that neither Max nor Michael are emotionally brave enough to actually talk to the girls about what they're afraid of and their relationships and such. But we do have Michael and Valenti both very bravely coming to Max's rescue, and even Max and Hubble showing bravery in their own ways in that confrontation.
Yes, and I found it a particularly interesting beat when Valenti calls Max son and tells him to go away, and Max says, well,
Right,
you wouldn't treat your own son this way, surely.
right.
It obviously brings out, I don't know, a kind of protectiveness from Valenti I don't think we've really seen before. We've seen him as the
Not,
hunter and we've seen him as, giving chase, but not
yeah,
as the protector yet.
yeah. Well, we did kind of talk about how they played on Valenti's fatherly instincts with the trick all the way back in the pilot.
Yes, in a very different
But
way, though.
yes, yeah,
No, we have quite a few callbacks too, because not only do we reference that, I suppose, but as they're driving out on the highway, um, Hubble starts waxing poetic about how wonderful it is to be flying down the highway with your sweetheart.
yes,
Of
yes,
course, the last time we saw that, it went disastrously wrong. I'm starting to think that driving down the Roswell Highway is a terrible thing to do.
right, yes. Oh, incidentally, as a geography call out, Bitter Lake is a place that is very close to Roswell, like 20 minutes drive from downtown,
Oh, good.
and it is a wildlife sanctuary. It is known for the birds and insects you can find there.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
I was thinking as they were going, it's got the perfect name for the atmosphere of the story they're telling.
true, yes. And yeah, the other thing talking about Valenti is that I'm actually reminded of Topolsky's last words again,
Oh,
that
yes.
Max will be worse off without me here to look out for him. And that so far it seems that Valenti is doing a much better job of that than she ever did.
Yes, well, we kept having to question Topolsky's ability to actually do her job.
Right, yes.
Valenti does seem competent at what he does. He just seems preoccupied
Yes,
a lot of the time,
right.
or his motives are confused, but fundamentally,
Yeah,
his intentions are good, I think.
yes. Which actually reminds me, I think the first time I came across William Sadler before Roswell was a role that he played in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, where he was very much more the secret society man, the Agent Stevens, or some of the other special unit agents we see as compared to Valenti. But he did kind of have that competence and even a almost a sense of a razor sharp practical intellect.
Oh, interesting. A very
Yes.
different sort of character then.
Yeah, different in context, but definitely some common elements.
Yeah.
He was, I think, Sloan of Agent 31 or something, who was constantly trying to recruit the Doctor for some sort of nefarious scheme.
Less analysis, but I do think I very much liked the way they shot all of those flashbacks.
Yeah,
I loved the visual language we start using there, the black and white, and
yes,
it's almost like more of the photographs
yeah.
as that story starts coming together.
Yeah, there was one thing about the flashlight which I think always bothered me, which was kind of the palaver about the 10 cents he didn't have to buy the match.
Oh,
And
absolutely. Time wise, that doesn't make
it,
any sense.
well, yeah, I think that kind of there's almost a suggestion that if it hadn't been for something to do with that, I could have been back to the car before he came. I could have done something to protect
Oh no,
her.
that's absolutely the suggestion, isn't it?
I'm not sure about it. It's possible that it's just kind of that because of what happened next, this thing was so burned into his memory that he's describing all of it as if it matters.
Although I suppose memories like that do work that way. When you go
Right,
into almost a sort of tunnel vision, everything develops
right.
such clarity that all of it
Yeah,
suddenly matters. You can't see anything else but the 10 cents you couldn't go back and get.
right,
But no, that was my reading too. That but for the 10 cents, he could have gone back and saved her.
right.
And yet, given the way we've seen the handprint work, it probably would have taken seconds anyway. So I don't know that it would have made any difference.
Yeah, yeah. And it didn't seem even in the flashback that he really spent that long trying to convince the guy. It was just, he said, don't make me embarrass myself, and the guy tossed him the matches, which didn't really take much longer than.
Then going back to the car would have done it. Wouldn't
Yeah.
have thought so.
Yeah, I like that notion, just that it's so burned into his memory that it seems significant.
I think that's probably it. I mean, it's that, or again, going back to those sort of Raymond Chandler imagery. You get
Right,
that quite a lot in things like Goodbye, My Lovely, or Farewell, My Lovely, too. These sort of, but for this one thing, it could all be different. And that's when the world
right.
fell, and that's why now I have to be on a crusade to put it back to rights.
Yeah,
Whether it's the Maltese Falcon, or the matches, or the alien hunting, or whatever.
right. Yes.
But no, I think we do a lot this episode with incidental things that take on disproportionate meaning. For Hubble, it's the matches. With Larry, it's that bullet that isn't there.
Right.
There's probably more of them, but I forgot to put them in notes, and now I'm running off the top of my head.
Yes. Yes, I did like the way that both Max and Michael mentioned the mud technique in front of the girls and kind of the different reactions to it.
Yes. They just have no idea what to do. It's great. At least Max manages to dress it up in a sentence or two.
Yes. Whereas, kind of with Michael, there's almost the sense that it's right there, that there's mud there, right there with him in the wrestling ring.
Yes. And I think I've said, Maria seems just bemused, which I quite like.
Yeah.
There's no
It's like,
snark.
this could hardly be weirder than anything else you've said.
Yes, I have come to expect weirdness from you. This is odd. Why not?
Okay. Just file it under stuff that Michael says.
Yes, although, just for novelty value, he's the one telling someone else to calm down as the episode comes to a close. Which I rather.
Sorry, what was the...
Oh, as the episode ends, it's Michael, not Max, saying, calm down, it's okay.
Right.
And I thought that's
Yes.
that's not normal.
No. No. Okay. So should we move into the new segment we're introducing of What's Your Favorite Moment?
Why not?
Okay. Well, I think I can go first, and kind of there's a bit right in the middle of that story where Hubble is talking about finding out that he had a little girl from the coroner's report. And it's obviously not a happy moment, but it is so emotionally powerful, especially because I kind of see on Jason Bear's face at that moment that Max suddenly realizes how much trouble he is in and exactly what happened, what Nasedo must have done.
Yes, just how much horror this man has wrought. It's such a powerful moment.
Yes.
No, I'm probably cheating a bit, but certainly I think my favourite was just the whole coming together of that mystery, of that story, through the
Right.
flashbacks.
Okay.
I really liked getting that resolution because we've been watching Hubble and trying to make sense of him. And it all came into place so beautifully, and it played fair with all the murder mystery rules. It was great.
Ah, yes.
So probably cheating a bit because it's not one specific thing, but that was the
I'll
standout
allow
of the
it, I
episode
think.
for me.
Yes. And friend of the show, Saman, actually gave us a favorite moment of hers to
Oh,
read out
good.
also. Yes. And she picked when all the women pick on Alex for other men and him obsessing on something because it made me laugh Although just right before, I was so very sad for Alex when he came in so shyly to Isabel.
Well, I'm with her on that.
Yes.
I mean, it runs the mystery a close second for me. If it wasn't for my preoccupation with crime fiction, which is probably my particular obsession, that would beat it by a close margin. It's a very good scene.
Yes.
And it's the comedy we need right before that nadir, I think.
Yes. And I am just looking up the name of our guest star for MVP because it clearly has to be Hubble as the standout performance for this week.
Absolutely. Right? It can't go to anyone else.
And
he just steals all the scenes he's in, I think, in a very quiet way.
Yes. Yeah, and he does kind of have this interesting accent and this kind of almost noir take on the role.
He does. He's sort of, I don't know what Valenti could be if we darkened him that bit more.
Right.
But he just offers such new insights into this world.
Yes, Tom Bauer played Hubble.
Well, I think it definitely...
Got a amazing career going back into the 70s, including a long run on the Waltons TV series as Dr.
Of course.
Curtis Willer.
Right.
Okay.
Well, shall we head into ratings?
Yes. Do you have one off the top of your head?
I was going to give it 8 coffee cups.
Okay.
Or 8 cups of coffee, I suppose it ought to be, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, I think I was thinking of 2 mud pies.
Well, that sounds about right.
Okay.
That ought to balance out the coffee.
Yes.
If you agree or disagree with us, you can get in touch via Twitter at @alienscast or find us on Facebook at facebook.com/alienscast or visit our blog at alienscast.com.
If you enjoyed this episode, please link to us on your blog, on Twitter, Facebook, wherever else you are on the internet. You can leave us a review on iTunes and help other Roswellians find us. And if you want to send us either voicemails or just things for us to read about the episodes on the show, you can do that in any of those places, or you can email us illegalalienscast@gmail.com. That's all one word, illegalalienscast. Oh, right, our theme music is Epic Trailer Intro by Honey Lemon.
And this podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Find out more by searching for Creative Commons.
I'm Chris Kelworth.
And I'm Claire, and this is Illegal Aliens, a Roswell podcast. Join us next Monday, July 24th, 2017, for a discussion of the 14th episode of Season 1, Blind Date,
in which Isabel blows Alex off once again, and a few drops from Cow's flask are enough to turn the tables on Max and Liz's relationship.